Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Real Estate Talks. I'm here discussing with everybody here in Central Alberta what it means to sell a house and timing. I get this conversation a lot, and that's why I thought I would just quickly chat about it. So, as you can see, I'm sharing my screen with you the monthly stats year over year for the last, technically from 2020 to 2025. And it's showing January to December, how many sales have happened in Red Deer. This is everything. Now, normally in some of my chats and in some of my market update reports, I talk single family dwelling. In this case, I'm talking 100% of the sales. I'm not talking just single family dwelling. I'm talking condos, townhouses, half duplexes, all of it. If it's residential, it's included in this stat to give you a better understanding of the best time to sell a house. And I think it's a conversation I have on the regular with people, especially in the early winter and in the fall months. And even now, this conversation happens a lot. So that's why we're doing this, and that's why I'm bringing it up with you. So as you can see, January, February, November, December, those 4 months tend to be our so-called slow time months. And that makes sense. I mean, November hits, winter hits, the real winter hits in November, so things slow down. December, we're just busy with family trying to navigate Christmas and doing all of that. It's an expensive month for the general population because we're spending money on our kids, and we're spending money on family and friends, and we're trying to get out and do things. So typically we don't see as busy of a season in the January, December, November months, and you can see that average is fairly consistent every year. We have some swing years where something crazy happens, and you hit a good month. Like look at December of 2021, there was 123 sales, even though the average for December is actually 89. We had 123 sales in that 2021 year. Same thing, like January, you kind of look and go, oh geez, we kind of had a bit of a swing year there in 2022. Same thing. You're going to have those little spikes, but on average, if you take 4 months of the year, those are the 4 months. And I personally, when I'm having a conversation with my clients, I typically like to pull off their listings around the 15th of December and then manage again in sometime in January or even later. And as you can see, the best months that we have, there's 4 of them. It's basically, well, you could even say March, April, May, June, July, and August. And comparatively, even September sometimes outdoes March. But for the most part, if you compare, September averages 145 sales in those few years, and March does 151. So it's close, but March is usually a little better. And everybody understands that. The years or the month, the year in years past where March probably doesn't do as well is because we're still having a pretty cold winter with lots of snowstorms or whatever. So that slows us down. And of course, there's other conditions, political as well, that make an impact on all of this. But in general, we like to say, list your house in March and get a sale in April or May, and away you go. And in conversation, there are typically 2 long weekends that don't do as well in sales, and that's kind of hard to show. This is just more from my experience. But May long weekend doesn't do as well as, say, the July or the August long weekend for sales. And I think due in part in Central Alberta. I'm not going to say that it's the same in like Edmonton or Calgary, but I know here It's the first long weekend where we potentially have good weather. A lot of times it snows, but it's just everybody likes to get out and do that long weekend. Baseball's running. There's lots of good things happening. Softball, baseball. So it's just one of those weekends where I think people kind of stay less focused. So open houses don't do as well on the long weekend of May, and don't do as well as good as they should on the September long weekend. And I think, again, last weekend before of summer, everybody kind of tries to take advantage of it. And also going into university, going into college, that kind of stuff, it tends to be slower. So that's what we're kind of discussing here and trying to make people understand, is that we do have lulls and they do happen. And I think that overall long weekends tend to be a little bit quieter, just because families want to take advantage of those long weekends. So even in July, doing an open house on a long weekend, you tend to have less activity, or at least you might get activity, but it's not going to provide you with a sale or provide you with good leads, if you will, over those long weekends. You know, you're going to have lots more looky-loos that happen to be just in the neighborhood, and especially in places like Sylvan Lake, where you're getting an influx of people coming from out of town. They're just bored. They're just out for a walk, and they're like, oh, wow, here's an open house. Let's go take a look. Let's go see what's selling in Sylvan Lake. And I see that in areas like Kelowna and Sicamous and other areas, Salmon Arm. You know, we have a tendency to see an influx of people holidaying in those markets, and so they're just out for a tour, if you will. But yeah, so I really wanted to kind of capsulate on April versus September. So April is the 4th month. September is the 9th month of the year. They're 4 months running to April and 4 months after September. So sort of seeing that April is about a 15% sells 15% better in April than it does in September. That's the average. So that when that conversation is happening as a seller and you're going, well, what's my chances of selling in September versus the spring market? Well, truthfully, it could be as much as 15% difference. That's that. So taking advantage of the spring market makes more sense, even though, you know, we can look at it and say, oh, well, there's more buyers and there's more listings that come on the market. But they actually, the flow, and you can see this, it's charted here. I don't have to, it doesn't take a scientist to look at the stats. You get more sales in April typically than you do in September. And you get more sales in May than you would in October. Again, just going through month for month. So the spring market, by far, Red Deer's best market to sell in, and being on the market in March, preparing your home for March is the time to do it. This is the proof here is in the pudding. You're seeing what I'm seeing and understanding it. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because I have this conversation with sellers all the time. Is there a bad time to sell a house? Is there does your house not sell? No, that's not the case. It still sells. We just do less sales because people are less interested in buying when it's minus 30 out here in Alberta and in central Alberta. I guess you could sort of trend this with also our oil patch and our oil and gas sector. Let's take it a step further and say, when are guys and girls most often working? If 1 in 3 people in central Alberta are still impacted by oil and gas, they are not home January, February, and part of March. Breakup usually happens sometime in March, and that's when they have time to focus on purchasing a property. So that's why you see, especially in central Alberta, a big push through April and May for sales. And actually, when you look at it, sales in May sometimes aren't as good as our the rest of our market, but you can still see, I mean, it does really well. Like, there's just no comparison. Like, we have an amazing a couple of months there, and yeah, that it definitely shows itself. I would say the oil and gas sector has an impact. You know, they definitely work again in the summer months, but they are at work, you know, through the cold months. It's a good time to be doing your thing, and then when that breakup hits, that's when our market comes to. School being out, that has an impact. So that last 2 weeks of June typically is slower, and going into the July long weekend. And then the last week of August, first week of September, we're definitely slower. We always see that slowdown. Just again, people adjusting for the school, college, university, getting a kid there, doing whatever it takes. So those kind of have trends as well. Yeah. So again, I just wanted to kind of go into this and follow up with you guys and discuss our trending market, seasonal market, and what it looks like here in Red Deer / Central Alberta. And this is it. This is kind of telling you this is what's been happening in 2025. You can see that for the most part, we're actually down a little bit sales wise. And we're starting to see that happen. And I will update you as soon as we're into September on our market thus far. But I can tell you the market is shifting. Sellers beware. Get ahead of the curve. Thanks. Take care.